This is the Aroid Hour, and we welcome all our friends.
I'm going to do some quick housekeeping, and then we'll get right into it. Hi, everybody. Happy you were able to make it. My name is Tanya Quintieri. I am a board member of the IAS, and specifically there, I co-chair the Education Committee, and I'm also the person that answers your emails when you're having trouble with your membership or any questions about that. The Aroid Hour is an initiative from the Education Committee because we wanted to get closer to you guys and just touch in more often than just annually at the expo. So this is our first Aroid Hour, and I'm really, really happy that I have board member Ashley Willingham with us, and we have Nicholas Rust. In this first Aroid Hour, we are going to be talking about content creation in the plant space. I was just thinking this morning what would qualify me to do this, because obviously we had initially planned that Fraser Cook, my co-chair at the EdCom, would moderate this because he's a content creator. And then I realized actually I'm a little bit of a content creator too, because I run a podcast called Pop Culture. Yeah, but of course our following is like micro compared to you guys. So I will just be moderating and giving you guys some questions. And then we're just going to listen in between two amazing plant content creators, talking about exactly that. With that said, like I said, we have Ashley here. You probably all know her, ATL Plant Room. And then we have Nicholas Rust from Rusty Exotics. Hi, Jillian. I'll get to you in a second. And aside from my questions that I've prepared for you guys, of course, you, the audience, at any time can raise your hand and ask your question. That being said, Jillian, did you have a question for us? You would have to unmute yourself if you wanted to ask your question. Okay, maybe that was a mistake. All right, then. Why don't you guys introduce yourself for those who might not know you, and then we'll get right in with the first question.
Do you want to go first, Nick?
Sure. So first, thank you very much for having me. I know this is a little bit of a last minute change, but I'm super excited to be here. My name is Nick Rust, and I'm the owner of Rusty Exotics. We do pretty much anything weird, wild, and fun in the botanical world. So lots of orchids and lots of weird aroids like Amorphophallus over here, and Dracontium and Typhonium, all sorts of fun niche things. Yeah.
And I am Ashley Willingham, ATL Plant Room. I have a collection downstairs, but my main focus of content is other people's collections and the history that goes behind the plants and the people. So
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I just had to close the door. That's why I went off camera. Bill, our president, just told me that he's watching and he can't comment. I don't know why that is. I will double check that while you guys answer the first question. So about the craft of content, both of you have very distinct vibes from what I saw on your channels. And I was wondering how you put the vibe against the science, meaning how do you strike a balance between making a video aesthetic and ensuring that any content you deliver, be that care advice or whatever it is that you're talking about in your content, is like botanically sound and speaks to collectors?
Starting off with a difficult question.
yeah,
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to, Ashley?
mine will be pretty long, so I will let you go first.
Okay. I will say that's something that I actually struggle with a lot, because of course you always want to be botanically accurate and scientifically accurate, but at the same time not going way too overboard and making, people's eyes glaze over is just super, super difficult. And so what I personally try to do is I will dive into some topic just enough that you can still understand the story behind like why you do something or why a plant grows the way it does without putting in so many details that it just becomes, like textbook sort of. Um, but it's definitely difficult. It's very, very tricky, and especially with some of the videos that we'll do on like tissue culture, where you really have to talk more scientifically. It's a very challenging balance. But yeah, all about how do you include like just enough details that people can follow the story without going over too much that it gets boring.
Yeah. I feel like mine is a little different because I usually have somebody else on screen with me, or I'm usually behind the camera. Um, and I try not to filter somebody's voice. So when there's education to be had, I just kind of put it in a little box in the corner. That way we can keep going and I don't have to pause the video. But to make it aesthetic, there are plenty of times where I have dropped the camera or something. I have to go back and add overlay stuff all the time on the screen to just make it where people aren't getting sick with me shaking the camera.
And actually, I want to add one more little piece too. Editing is really useful here too. So in terms of like short content, when like 90 seconds might be all you have on Meta's platform, um, I might have one video like raw unedited. It might be 14, 15, 20 minutes long, but I
Yeah.
always find it much more useful to take way, way, way more footage than I need that then I can edit down to 90 seconds instead of, let's say, excluding something and then just not having like a little piece of the puzzle that I wanted to include in the video. So editing is very, very useful, and heavily editing is very useful for really getting that balance tuned in.
That's a good answer. That is totally true.
That makes sense. Thank you for that. Let's see. My next question. As content creators, do you feel that you drive the market? Like, obviously, Aroids have been hyped for several years now, to the point where I'm just going to say it, Aroid bubble. Like, in your content, do you feel that you drive the market, or are you responding to the market? Like, what's the role of a plant content creator in what's the next best or next hot thing?
Nick and I actually just had this conversation on the
Literally 2 days ago.
phone. So we both do not consider ourselves as plant influencers. We are more, I'll speak for myself. I am more of an educator. I do think that sometimes I do influence the market unintentionally by showing off something that I'm very passionate about. It makes other people very passionate about it. So I can't pretend like I don't have some influence, but I don't think that I'm a influencer and sway it from one way to the other.
I agree with that. Yeah. And I think unintentionally more than intentionally. But what we were talking about a few days ago was trying to intentionally convince people why plants are so cool. But I think a quick story of an unintentional time that I think I had some sort of push on the market was I made a video on butterworts on Pinguicula, which is not an aroid, so it's maybe a little off topic. But this video ended up getting like 2 point something million views. And all of a sudden after this, I had tons and tons of people reaching out to me, reaching out to the person who I worked with to make the video. They were reaching out to other carnivorous plant nurseries. Carnivorous plant nurseries started advertising Pinguicula on Facebook. Like all of a sudden, it's just everyone wanted pings, which was really cool. And then since then, because I've kind of just understood, like, yeah, you can have a little bit of sway of the market. I try to focus on really plants that like we grow and sell, just to show people why they're cool and maybe convince someone to take a risk and try some plant that they maybe haven't grown beforehand. But yeah, mostly unintentional.
It's funny that you mentioned the pings. I remember a couple of years ago when Wild Fern had her first ping, and she showed it on a video, and I was not aware of that plant beforehand. And I thought, what a cool thing, because I know I can't keep like pitcher plants alive. And then I thought maybe pings could help me with my fungus gnats or something. So yeah, I think that way, I don't know if I'd call that an influence. I think there's other creators who push certain plants a lot more, but that definitely like put them on my radar.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Next question. How do you, like, we know that some plants can be notoriously slow to grow, thinking of, I don't know, the Spiritus Sancti or whatever. When those are like up in popularity, how do you balance that slow growing plant with like the fast pace of social media, like having to create content on it, etc.? Like, any thoughts on that?
That's another tricky one. Yeah. Do you mind if I jump in first, Ashley?
Go ahead.
Okay. I feel like I actually don't. I feel like I definitely can lag behind on trends sometimes, because if there's something that grows slow, I don't like buying wholesale. I typically start from like tissue culture or seed or whatever. And so I'll usually just take the fall and maybe get the kind of end of a trend. So I don't think I'm very good at doing that.
I kind of feel the same way, but you can always do different types of videos. If you're not trying to just do education, even in education, you can do different types of videos with the same plant, the same leaves, the same everything. You can make trendy content out of anything, really.
I agree.
Maybe
Yeah.
that's the talent of a true plant content creator. And that's why not everyone can do it. Yeah. All right, let's start peeking a bit behind the scenes. Obviously, all of us here are plant collectors, and that includes the both of you. On social media, we often see like these flawless leaves, right? And makes the average Joe like myself feel like crap because my plants are not flawless. So my question is, how much of your daily life is actually spent dealing with unaesthetic things like, I don't know, thrips, root rot, messy propagation bins, etc.?
100%.
Yeah, funny enough, my chore for today is cleaning the entire grow room because it has just become a disaster zone. There's dirt everywhere. There's brown leaves everywhere.
Yeah. I think I don't clean any room as often as I do my plant room. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
All
Yeah,
right.
anytime I take a video of a plant, I wouldn't say anytime, but most of the time, I'll try to at least pretty it up a little bit. So maybe if there's some leaves that are yellowing near the bottom, I'll just cut them off, make it a little bit more aesthetic looking, because it's like when you're taking a picture of a car, or like you're getting a house ready to list it. You clean it beforehand, right? You're not gonna just take a picture of like a dirty garage or a dirty kitchen and be like, I don't know, buy it. So I feel like it's kind of the same thing. You just make it a little more aesthetic looking before you take a video, pictures, or etc.
I actually pulled the yellow leaf off of this plant right before this, just in case it was in the background.
Wonderful.
Same thing with that, but I did notice that it has one leaf, so we're turning it this way. That I missed.
Mm-hmm.
I love the artwork behind you.
Thank you.
Another thing that I feel, and I know that Fraser feels the same way. I mean, obviously, it's part of his thesis at the moment. Like, what do you think about the responsibility of plant content creators when it comes to vetting sellers, not just for wild harvesting, which some people call poaching, but also like ethics around plant sales, etc.? Like, do you think that you have more of a responsibility than others to like drill good values into plant collectors.
For sure.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that regardless if we want to believe whether we have influence or not, we do. And it would be very unethical if we're like, hey, buy this plant from this poacher, or you can prop lift and it's not that big of a deal, and things like that. Like, we are an audience, not just to our peers, but to the younger generations. And I think it's very important that we consider what we share.
I agree. Yeah. And I personally, I hardly do any collaborative things anymore. Well, when I say collaborative, I mean like with maybe another company promoting some product, because we did a decent amount of that in 2025. We were very, very careful about who we were promoting. And some of the products that short term I was using and I really liked, and so I was happy to promote them. Long term, I kind of decided for one reason or another that I didn't like them as much. And I felt a little bit guilty about promoting it at some point, because once again, we're never going to promote something that we don't like, or that's bad, or maybe that's who's a bad seller. Um, but I absolutely think it's our responsibility to at least make sure that anything we're promoting is good, or is not going to be unsustainable, or it's just a bad product, period. So now in 26, we pretty much don't do any sort of collaborations anymore.
Wow, that's well, I guess for you that would be a little bit different because I'm going to assume since you have a nursery that social media isn't your primary source of income.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. I'm guessing that might be a little bit different for plant content creators for whom, social media is their primary source of income.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. Yeah. So like on one hand, I'm very blessed that I have the ability to say no to one group, because some people might not be able to. And so I think it's also important that if you see someone promoting something, especially if it's like an up and coming creator, someone who's just starting to grow, um, I don't think you should always blame them outright if maybe they take a deal with someone who doesn't end up being a great company, because sometimes there are creators who really just they need to pay the bills, and they might just blindly accept something, which is maybe not the best tactic, but some people do that. But that really is it's their source of income. So
Yeah. And maybe we should give them grace because everybody's allowed to make their own mistakes, right?
oh
I mean,
yeah,
we learn more from mistakes than from successes, that's for
ex-
sure.
exactly correct.
The last bit of the behind the scenes questions. Plants grow on their own schedule, obviously, and on the other hand, algorithms demand daily content. How do you make sure that the hobby stays joyful for you and that it doesn't start feeling like a job, or does it feel like a job and does that fulfill you? Like, where is the line between I'm going to burn out because I have to create content versus I'm really enjoying this?
Do you want to go first, Nick, or do you want me to?
Sure, I can go first. So I kind of hit that line last year where we were trying we were posting 6 days of the week. I think like 4 or 5 reels and maybe 1 or 2 pictures. And it really did get to the point where I was just totally burnt out. I really felt like I wasn't putting my full effort into it. And so I actually decided to get to just a different schedule where now we do 2 videos a week or 2 reels a week, and then 1 to 2 pictures a week. And it made it a lot more joyful, because it gets to the point where, yeah, if you're trying to do content every single day, that's a ton of work. And I think a lot of people don't realize exactly how much time goes into like planning content, filming it, editing it, maybe me, I do this. I'll take an hour to pick out like a song for a video. I'm
Mhm.
so picky about the music I want. So all of that, it's a ton of work. Um, so yeah, you can definitely get burnt out. And so what I think is more important, instead of posting every day per se, is to just post on a schedule that works for you. If that's once a week, fantastic. If that's twice a week, perfect. But a schedule and more high quality content is always going to gain more of a following than it will followers. And I think, followers is just a number, but a following, those are the people who are there watching every one of your videos, commenting, liking, etc. That's what you want. And as long as you have
Mhm.
that consistent schedule, that's always going to be more important, in my opinion.
I just want to say that it takes me longer to pick out the music sometimes than it takes for me to do an hour video. Um, I kind of feel like I am a little burnt out right now with everything going on in my life. I haven't posted in the last 2 weeks. Normally, I try to post once a month or once a week. Sorry. Right now, I'm at once a month, which isn't very good. Um, but I think if you plan, um, you can plan it out to where you can have a break and have content to post is what I've done previously, but not this time. But previously, so give yourself a lot of breaks. Give yourself a lot of grace. Everybody needs a break, and we just kind of deal with it as we can.
Mm-hmm.
This is a really weird comparison, but Ashley and I are both mothers, so maybe Ashley, you can relate. But
Mhm.
given, or maybe it's because I don't do visual content, right? Like I don't have people in my home all the time or in my grow space, in my personal space, the way a content creator might. Um, do you remember that feeling when the kids were like toddlers and they're constantly hanging on you and touching you, and you have this feeling where you're like, I'm all touched out.
Mhm.
Like, and I think if I, for some reason, decided to do content creation, like with video and images in my personal space all the time, I think that is how I would feel, especially with, comments coming in and people maybe even criticizing you or leaving hate comments, whatever. I think I would reach that threshold really fast. So that is something I personally admire about plant content creators, how they just stick to their mission and seem untouchable in that regard. So I don't know, maybe it's a weird comparison. I don't know if you can relate.
No, I understand what you're saying. It takes a special kind of person to not let certain things get to you. Sometimes you've just got to take a step back, take a step away from it, and breathe.
Yeah. Before we get to our next section, I've had some messages from people saying that they cannot comment. I'm trying to figure out why it's not working. Continuous chat is off. Message, what? But it does say let participants send messages, and it says yes. So my workaround would be, if you have a question, raise your hand by clicking the little hand icon, and I will add you as a contributor. And then you can just, speak out your question. You don't have to come on camera if you don't want to. That's perfectly fine. But for some reason, the messaging isn't working, or the chat. That's on me. Sorry. It's our first Aroid Hour.
There's always
I
got to be
promise.
some IT glitches. It's okay.
I don't know.
Especially if it's Nick.
Yeah, really. I'm the king of like random tech glitches.
Like I'm looking at the toggle right now. It says on. Let participants send messages. I don't
I
know.
just looked too, and mine said that too.
All right. So, like I said, raise your hand if you have a question. We'll get to those. All right. Now, talking about community, and this is a little bit more for the IAS than it is for you guys, but how can organizations like the IAS better engage with younger social media driven generation of plant lovers? Like, and maybe this doesn't apply just to the IAS, but also, you know, the orchid societies and the begonia societies and the succulent societies, all of them, right? Like, in your opinion, what can we do to really meet younger collectors, plant enthusiasts? How can we meet them halfway? Because I do think that you guys have more access to that audience.
Ashley and I just talked a little bit about this one too.
We did.
And I swear I did not share these questions beforehand because I literally just put them down like half an hour before the call.
Do you want to go first? Do you want me to?
Whatever you want.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I think that for one, social media just in general is absolutely key. And all social media too. I admit I wasn't a TikTok person. I never wanted to go onto TikTok. Just because like already having two platforms, I was like, I don't need another one. But the age that the primary age that watches my videos on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, it's like 3 generations. I mean, completely different groups of people. So I think first it's important to be on all social media and to be active there. But then something else that I noticed from giving talks to orchid societies just all over the US is that the societies that had the largest number of young people by far, I mean, we're talking like 5% under 40 years old versus like 60% under 40 years old, they had activities. It wasn't just talks. It wasn't just, maybe a newsletter here and there. It was, on our monthly meetings, we're going to do a repotting, or we're going to, have a seed project, give everybody seeds and see who can start growing them the quickest or get flowers the quickest. It was stuff like that. And I think that younger people typically appreciate doing stuff like that more than just like a newsletter or maybe presentation each month, which that takes a lot of work. And that's the problem. It's so much work to do, but yeah, exactly.
Taking notes, Nick, I'm taking notes.
Yeah, like Tanya's writing this down right now.
Yeah.
Quick interjection. Jessica Walters just shared with us, if you click on the 3 dots, there's 3 dots somewhere.
Okay.
There's tools, and then click on Q&A, and that's where you can leave your questions. Thank you.
Ooh.
I feel kind of stupid having used Google Meet since its inception, but anyway.
Thank you,
Right,
Jessica.
so seeds. Okay. Did you want to add anything? I'm not going to
Yes.
remember what this means. I'm going to have to rewatch the recording. That's okay. Ashley.
So Dana and I actually, Leafy Diva and I were having this conversation this week. And one thing you have to do to get in front of the younger generation is like understand them and try to engage with them on whatever platform they're on. Something that kind of relates to this is she said, you can't make yourself cool to the younger generation. They have to tell you you're cool. They have to decide that you're cool. And that really stuck with me because I remember being a teen and being like, oh, this is adult so cool. And there wasn't really a reason, right? But it is. So I think meeting them wherever they are, engaging them, and you don't have to be cool. You can be dorky, but they'll still love you. Just be yourself, whatever that may be. There was one other point that I wanted. And the younger generation is the hardest generation to, I think, market. They grew up online.
I agree.
They're different than anyone we've ever seen before, and they're so cool, and I love them. But I think it's going to be interesting to see over the years how they change things for us.
Yeah, I think with the younger generation, what I'm seeing from my business, which is not plant sales. It's more about software for plant lovers. Um, I do think that the younger ones are more into the instant gratification thing. Like they expect instant gratification. They expect instant access. They expect, and rightfully so, because the technology allows us to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not that's a good thing, that's to be discussed in a different discussion. But yeah, the instantness, the timeliness, right? Um, I do think it's a whole different beast in terms of marketing and reaching and engaging with. Um, but what we can take away from this, guys, everybody, Ashley chairs the marketing committee at the IAS, and I'm sure she'd love some more volunteers to help with other channels
Absolutely.
that we're not using at the moment. But I do have an exciting update about that once we wrap up this segment. What was my next question?
Sorry.
Okay, this is a little bit of a silly question. We've all seen plant hacks go viral and
Oh,
that
no.
are actually harmful, right? Let's talk about the ice cube in the room. What's your responsibility as a creator to debunk misinformation that is out there in the community and that keeps on bubbling up consistently, right?
Yeah. I feel like that's super in Nick's niche because he literally does orchids.
It is the bane of my existence. So what I found, because orchids, they're mysterious. Easily the amount of misinformation versus good information, it's like a 95 to 5 split. I mean, there's so much misinformation on orchids, and unfortunately, the misinformation is always the stuff that goes viral. Because if you say, "How do you water an orchid?" You water it. You get water, and that's it. No one cares about that. But if you say, oh, you take beans and you boil the beans and then you throw potatoes in the water and strain it and now you have a magical concoction and then what? That's weird. That's wacky, and everybody wants to see that. So it's like a war. Fighting misinformation is genuinely a just war. That I think we're losing right now, to be honest, just because
Yeah.
the misinformation is always so wacky and goes viral so much more quickly than good info. But it's difficult.
Drop a finger if you've ever put banana peels in a mason jar with water and let it sit
Yep.
for 5 days. I will admit this was in my very early days until I realized that this can't work. But anyway, yeah.
I try not to
Hey, Kitty.
touch on that stuff. Yeah, he keeps trying to knock over my phone. So that's what I'm like. um, I try not to touch on that unless somebody specifically asks me. I did a cakey paste video and a super thrive video. It was one of my first videos when I got on YouTube, and it kind of went really viral because I was angry. I was so annoyed. I was like, why are you guys doing this? This is such misinformation. And I ended up taking the Super Thrive video down, not because it was inaccurate, but because people weren't watching the entire video. So you really, for those types of things, I think you really have to plan them out when you discuss them. But so many people have touched base on these topics. It's like, do I really want to make another Ice Cube video? Like everybody's done at least 10. So I don't know. I don't feel like it's.
But that's the issue with social media, though, no? I mean, if I remember when I started collecting plants and I was a lot more in plant groups, and as I got smarter about my collection, you know, I would tell people, oh no, I'm sorry, that's wrong information that you got because XYZ, or generally engaging in like questions about growing plants. I've grown tired of answering questions. I've grown so tired that I've left many groups. The problem
It's like
is there's
another
always
burnout.
new people coming in, right? And they're always
Mhm.
asking the same questions. And anything that you find on social media is like gone in a heartbeat, right?
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
it really is.
you know, so I get the
For
feeling of how many more times do I have to explain this?
Yeah.
For me, I have actual stuff that I wrote down before, copy in my notes section of my phone. So, like, if somebody's asking me, like, spider mites, I'll put, like, spider mites life cycle and it'll pop up, and then I just copy and paste. Um, really just for Facebook and answering in my comment section. It just makes it easier, and I feel like I'm still being helpful.
Mhm.
Even if I didn't sit there and type it out for an hour for you specifically, I sat there and did all the research, and I did sit there and type it for an hour. Maybe not today, but like a year ago.
At some
Okay,
point.
at some point.
You should probably put that in your text replace. I work a lot with text replace.
Yeah, I do have the automated question on what is it, the direct messages, but I feel like I tend to use it more in the comment section of
Mhm.
the groups.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now I can't decipher my own writing. The term holy grail plant, whatever, gets thrown a lot. And this is a bit of a chicken and an egg question. Has social media made rare aroids more accessible, or has it just made the hunt more intense?
Mm.
Can I tell a story?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I had been collecting plants long before I knew there was an online plant community. I don't remember where I saw it. Maybe it was in an ad or something, but I saw a pink princess and a spirit of sanctity back in like 2018, maybe 2017. And I wanted one so bad. I went to Walmart, I went to Home Depot looking for these plants. And I thought that I would never get them. The people that I would ask at Walmart would be like, oh no, I've never seen that plant. Maybe check out Home Depot. So I would go round and round in circles. And it wasn't until I was in Florida at a plant store. My cat is trying to knock my light over. I'm sorry. At a plant store that somebody said, have you checked the Facebook groups? And I was like, that's a thing, that I was able to finally get my pink princess for $300 for a single node. Or I waited on the spirit of safety. Let me just tell you that. But I feel like the online community has made it more accessible. I had no idea about the community when I was looking for some of the rare plants. I do think that it shows us more rare plants. Oh man, so then I just contradicted my answer.
It's hard. Chicken and egg, right?
Can I jump in very quickly?
Go, go, go. I
I
gotta think about
agree.
this.
I think that it's made it more accessible, but at the same time, I think that it's also made more rare plants where it's maybe a plant that isn't rare, like at all. But then let's say all of a sudden, someone posts about it or they make a video about it and everyone sees it and then everyone wants it. And as long as you say, oh, it's rare, it's new, it's the newest thing, it might demand higher prices when in reality it's not a rare plant at all. It's just something that people want all of a sudden.
My
You know,
my co-host at the podcast and he's an anthurium breeder, and we've decided that we're no longer going to use the word rare plant. We're
Hmm.
just going to say collector plants.
I
love
like that. Yeah, I like that.
I feel like stuff goes in cycles. So we'll all get a plant, it'll crash, nobody sells it anymore. Then a few years later, some like the philodendron hardy eye, like I got that for really cheap a few years ago, and I feel like they weren't selling. But if I was to post it now, I feel like people would be like, "Oh my God, where did you get that?" and think it's like some new thing. So I feel like there's cycles because there's always new people coming in and out of the plant worlds.
I agree. Yeah.
I mean, look at it's never obliqua. Shout out to Nick. Jesus. It's so funny. He told me we met in London, I think 2022 or 2023. And obviously I wanted to know from him about the hashtag It's Never Obliqua. I was at the time a proud owner of an Obliqua Peru. I paid ridiculous money for it, 4 figures.
Was it obliqua?
It was one. Actually, it
kidding.
was a propagation of one of Enid's plants. And but he told me, and this was later confirmed by Tom Crowett and Yupmon and Bill as well, that like I think already back in the 70s or 80s, I want to say, these were being swapped among collectors in Florida, like either for cheap, like $5 a pop or whatever. So it's been around for so long, and then some stupid social media trend made it. Oh my God!
Made it rare, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Tanya, are you checking that Q&A thing?
Yeah, we have one question, which I'm not sure how to answer that. How do I invite international vendors to come?
They need to be members. So
But to come
members,
where?
I
To
was
the
guessing
expo?
maybe. I was thinking to this, to our live stream.
Oh,
Maybe to the show in general.
it's members only at the moment. If you're referring to the Aroid Hour, are you a member, Nick?
I'm actually not.
We're
but
making him
that's
a
the
member.
NIM. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. If you're talking about the IAS Tropical Plant Expo in Florida in September, again, best go to the website, aroid.org/vendor, vendors. You'll find everything there. That's about the only question we have right now. So, before we go into a bit more of an open discussion, my last question is, what is one aroid you will never grow again, no matter how popular it is?
I feel like I go back and forth on this one. It was an Anthurium warwicklinum. I always say that I'm the queen. I have killed 17. I'm serious. I have, and I'm like at 10. I was like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. And then somebody was like, I have one for $25. It's super healthy. You're not going to kill it, and it's you could grow it in your house. I've been growing it in the house without a humidifier, so I'm like, okay, maybe this will work. And then just one more and one more and one more, and I did good. I haven't got one for 2 years now. Hi, Justin.
Justin has a question. He raised his hand. Probably in response to that question we just had, because Justin is our events
Expo.
committee chair. So, Justin, go ahead. Unmute yourself.
Oh, okay. I was gonna type, but cool. Yeah, well, so I guess about the expo, real quick. That wasn't my question, but if you have any questions about the expo that you can't find on the website, you can always email events@aroid.org, and I'm more than happy to answer as best I can and as quickly as I can. So events@aroid.org is the best way to get in touch directly if you have expo related questions. My question for you, Ashley, and you, Nick, is so plants obviously don't just like spontaneously or immaculately appear in a greenhouse somewhere that they came from the wild at some point, some habitat somewhere. how through your content do you try to sort of bridge the gap between the collector mentality and the kind of living world that these plants have evolved in, and sort of connect the two, I guess?
That's a good question. It's a very good question.
Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
Okay. So I was actually talking to Fraser about this recently, about how I can be a better influencer person to our plant world and do better about conservation. And um, one of the things that we had discussed is asking the people that I interview and tour with a series of questions, not only to get them thinking, but to get the audience that's watching the video thinking, like, what are you personally doing to help conservation? Do you know where all of your plants come from? Things like this. I have my phone, so I can't really look at the questions right now. But things like that. And another thing that I eventually want to work on, because I do longer form videos and can, quite frankly, is finding a conservation or grant or research project in need of funding and plugging it in. I actually want to do that with IAS first. Um, so that's a different way, but to answer your question, it's a really hard balance to go from, like, to walk the line, because we are collectors. People are wanting to see what's new and what's trendy and um, things like that. But at the same time, you don't want people like stealing stuff out of the wild, quite frankly.
I always try to get people to try and buy from just nurseries that they know they can vouch for, that are upfront or maybe more transparent about where they might get their stuff. So be it tissue culture or from seed. Because even when, let's say, someone takes like seeds out of the wild, that's a much more sustainable way to actually get new plants into cultivation. It's through seed, because then you're just taking, let's say, 10% of the seed batch instead of a whole plant out of the wild. So that's what I usually try to promote, is to do that instead. But of course, that can be tricky sometimes, because how do you figure that out? Or if there's a nursery that maybe isn't more transparent about where they might get stuff, which is very common, because people sometimes don't want to share their sources, and that's understandable. But it can make it a little more difficult to really do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you for your question, Justin. I can't really answer that question, because that would be plugging something that I shouldn't be doing.
Yeah,
So,
I was trying not to do that.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but the thing with, I guess it all comes down to provenance. That's all I will say about that.
Plant providence? Is that what you're saying?
The plant provenance, yeah. But anyway, the other thing, Justin, just help me figure out how this works here in this open setting. If you raise your hand, I can actually add you to participate and ask your question. So if you do have a question, please raise your hand, and I will get you on screen.
Palmer just asked the question.
Who?
Palmer.
Palmer, hi.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get back into the chat. It's not letting me. This is so weird. Q&A, there we go. Hey, Ashley, if you were to make a video of an international garden nursery visit, where would you go? Oh, that's a good question.
Oh, man, I have an entire list. So I have a list of, like, my like bucket list places that I want to go. Nuntuk is one of them. I think that's how you say it over in Thailand, that big nursery place. I'd love to go to Asia, but there's so many places. Another place I want to go to is Australia. I feel like
Yes.
they're kind of, I hate you. I feel like they're a time capsule because
Mhm.
they can't have plants come in and out. And I feel like nobody does plant tours there. Like, there's only a few of us that do plant tours, me, Sean, Summer, but nobody has done them there. And I'm sure there's so many cool educational collectors, and that's one of the places that I want to go.
I have seen some from Jan.
Yeah,
That
he has
German
done a
guy who lives
few.
in Australia. Yeah.
So Australia, everywhere. I just want to go everywhere. But
I did. When you go to Australia, bring me with you.
okay.
I recently did an interview with Tom Crowett, and he said that he was absolutely blown away by the greenhouses in Nancy in France, Nancy.
Really?
And apparently they have the biggest collection of aroids, like by number of different species.
Really?
Huh.
Yeah, I was surprised to hear that. And then he also was in Lyon, which he liked a lot, and I think that is where David Sherbrick is, if I'm not mistaken. But those two seem to be really good as well.
I'm writing all of this down.
Yep,
Let's
put
see
it
if I
in
can
notes.
find my list while I'm standing or
It's
sitting
spelled
here.
Nancy, but it's pronounced Nancy. Summer agrees, by the way. Nong Nook is also on his bucket list. I
It
don't even
won't
know
let
if I
me
pronounced that right.
open it on my old computer, which show you my bucket list.
Y'all need to go watch Ashley's videos so that she can get some revenue off of YouTube and she can buy a new computer.
It's only 8 years
Computer
old, but
number
it works
4.
so well until it doesn't work. It
I
works
have
well when it doesn't.
I have this old Dell that's from like 2013 that has like 3 USB ports, an HDMI port, a DVD drive. It's got everything. It's got an Ethernet port. I refuse to get rid of it because it's like it has everything I could ever need on the actual laptop.
And here I am with my 2 USB-C ports. Anywho,
I'm trying
any
to
more
find it.
questions for our 2 wonderful guests here?
I think I had to think a little while. What's one aroid I never want to grow again? And I
Oh,
think I have
right,
one
you didn't
answer.
answer.
Draculuncus vulgaris. It's
I
this
don't.
super weird Mediterranean, like corpse flower looking plant. They're incredible. They have mottled foliage. They've got these huge kind of hand-shaped leaves. They've got massive, bright flowers.
It's
I have
gorgeous.
killed, right? They're stunning. I've killed so many of them. Nothing. I've never even gotten one to grow. I always get the tuber and then I kill it when it's dormant. I never even get it to sprout. But I don't know. They do not do well with me. And as much as I really would like to, I've killed it so many times at this point that I'm like, all right, I've thrown in the towel. I give up.
I probably should give up on the most basic thing, which is a Queen Anthurium, the War Queen. But I just keep on buying them. I don't know. And I don't have any tents. I just have a plant room that sits at decent humidity. But apparently it's just not for me. But I will keep on trying. Ooh, Nick, good question. Again. What's the stinkiest Amorphophallus or related genus?
Ooh. I'm going to answer this 2 different ways, actually. So, stinkiest by species kind of depends on genetics. Amorphophallus henryi is sort of accepted as like the smelliest Amorphophallus, but the cultivar that I have is not bad. It's really not bad at all. My cultivar of Amorphophallus bulbifer, on the other hand, is atrociously bad. I got in a lot of trouble when it first bloomed. It's huge. I think it might be a tetraploid. I mean, easily, let's say 18 inches tall for the flower. And when it bloomed, it was in the backyard on the deck. And I'd woken up. I had to go to the store or something. And when I pulled back into the front driveway and opened my car, I went, "Oh my God, what is that smell?" And it hit me. It was the Amorphophallus bulbifer on the other side of the house on my deck, like 65 feet away. And I smelled it like I was standing right next to it. So that's my smelliest one. By
How did-
size of flower, Typhonium. Typhonium's a related genus. A lot of them have like teeny tiny little flowers that you won't even see the flower, and you'll be 15 feet away from it, and you'll know it's in bloom because of the fragrance.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do your neighbors? His house is really close to neighbors. Like
Yeah.
he lives in a neighborhood like me. So
I have a really funny story, actually, and I never even bothered to figure out the ending to this, but basically one time I had a huge corpse flower that was in bloom, and for anybody that doesn't know, they usually smell bad for like one night. So they might start smelling bad at, let's say, 6 p.m., and then they stop at like 5 a.m., and then that's it. So I had this really large flowering one that was super fragrant that was blooming one night, and my neighbors had a pool party. And I know they could smell it. I am so sure they could smell it. And I just decided to never even ask. I was like, I don't know what that smells. So,
I just had to laugh when you mentioned the Henry eye because that was actually my last boss's first name. Shout out to Henry if you ever see this. You know I love you. Right. We have 3 more minutes. I think it's going to be time to wrap this up. I did mention earlier when we had the community segment, look out for next month. The IAS is launching a brand new community on Discord. We're currently in the process of setting that up. And it's not to replace chapters, which is a committee that we closed at the end of last year for different reasons. But instead, we wanted to offer a space where our members can communicate with each other. And one of the groups within the server is all about regional connection. So you'll be able to either join one of the regions that is already established, or you can ask for yours. I already asked for Europe because in my everyday life, I'm actually based in Europe. So we can see we will see what we can do there. I know Discord is either a love it or hate it platform, but for the purposes that we want to use it for, I do think it's going to be great, and you'll get the link to that in the March newsletter.
Yay, exciting.
Yeah, forward to that. Alrighty, you guys. Thank you so much for your time. This was really enlightening. A lot more interesting than I thought it would be. Not that I didn't think it was going to be interesting, but like it was even more than I had anticipated.
Nick is the best.
Yeah, and thank you again for reaching out. I had a good time. If you want me back, shoot me a message. Always happy to do it again.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Guys, you can find Nicholas if you don't know yet. Did I say Nicholas? Nick,
Yes.
sorry.
It's okay.
That's what it says.
Yeah, you can find him at Rusty Exotics and Ashley, obviously, at ATL Plant Room. What does ATL Plant Room stand for?
ATL is short for Atlanta.
Oh, okay. Good. Right, because you're based in Atlanta.
Yeah, we're both in Atlanta. We forgot to say that. Yeah,
we're
she's
neighbors.
like, you're 10 minutes away from me.
That's not fair. You could have sat in one screen. No, I'm kidding.
I actually thought about that. I was
I
texting
did
you
too.
this morning, like, let me just pop out of the side of your screen.
Yeah, right.
Okay. And the next Aroid Hour is going to be in April. It's going to be every 2 months, at least, unless you guys say, we want this more often. I'm all up for it. If you need to reach us for the Aroid Hour, you can write to education@aroid.org. That will go to my and Fraser's inbox. And send us suggestions on topics that you'd like to hear, guests you'd like to see. I'm kind of hoping that in the next one we can talk perhaps about a specific genus and, you know, the care and what's happening in the wild, what's happening in conservation, etc. So yeah, be sure not to unsubscribe from the IAS newsletter because you will miss out. Nick, Ashley, thank you so much. Everybody else, have a wonderful weekend and see you around.
Bye.
Bye.
Happy growing.
Mm.